Hey guys, welcome back to Vertical Momentum. I am your host, Richard Kaufman, also known as the Comeback Coach. Guys, this is going to be an amazing episode. My friend Shaun, truly amazing person. He's an author, speaker, coach, and I call him SF for special friend because that's the kind of person that he is. An amazing person, has a heart for our youth. And as Whitney Houston once said, the children are the future. So, guys, if you have kids, you're going to want to listen to this episode and share it with any other parent. So, brother, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Man, Richard, thank you for having me, man. I'm doing great. Anytime we're on this side of the dirt, man, it's a great time to be alive. So I'm good.
I love it. And before I forget, because I got a traumatic brain injury, if I don't ask, I forget. What is your definition of resiliency?
My definition of resiliency is to get back up, right? To bounce back because you can. And that's my definition of it. You get back up because you can, because you have the power. There's as long as you're alive and breathing, you can still fight. And so because you can still fight, there's always a possibility you can get to wherever it is you want to go.
I love it. Now, I do have your book. It's on my nightstand. I'm on my third iteration. An amazing book. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But now, if anybody watches the show and they see your smiling face, they see you're all jacked up, but it hasn't been all unicorns and rainbows, has it? So tell us a little bit about where you come from, where did you grow up, and how did you become the force that you are today?
Well, originally from Seattle, Washington. Grew up in the inner city of Seattle, Washington, and people always say, man, Seattle has a hood, and it definitely did when I was growing up, man. There was gang violence everywhere. I grew up right around when crack hit the inner city, so I remember what it was like to go outside and play before crack hit and what it was like once crack hit. You couldn't go outside the way you used to, and just the tremendous gang violence. What inspired me to do what I'm doing now, actually, my aunt and cousin were murdered in a domestic violence situation, and it just rocked our world, just our whole family, just because, not only did he kill my aunt, but my cousin was 9 at the time, and having children of my own, it was just, now it was just a gut-wrenching thing just to see my cousin be taken away. But that inspired me to start I Am Defense about 10 years later. And I never wanted to work with children at all. I didn't have a desire to do it. I couldn't stand kids, but there was such a need for personal development in youth that I started doing it. So I started with I Am Defense in honor of my aunt and cousin to teach women and children how to defend themselves against the violent attackers. From there, we went to Camp Warrior King and You Can Have It All, the You Can Have It All conferences and magazine and the orphanage.
Okay, guys, we got to go. It's been great. No. All right, so let's hop back in the Wayback Machine because I grew up as an abused child, fatherless, and my solace was books, reading. I got 16 books I'm reading at one time right now. I've read over 6,000 books, even though I'm a ninth grade dropout. Wow. So, growing up the way you grew up, what was your solace? Because a lot of people say a lot of it was reading, maybe sports, maybe music. What was your go-to to feel safe?
As a kid, my go-to was martial arts. My mom put me in a martial arts program to keep me from getting in trouble. And I fell in love with the idea of martial arts. I would study Kung Fu and Taekwondo. I loved Sho Kosugi as a kid and all the Revenge of the Ninja movies. Bruce Lee was buried in Seattle, so I felt like we had some kind of connection there. So I was always in the martial arts. Of course, I played sports and, got into games and things like that. But part of it was my mother had started a cleaning service. And so when I would get out of school, we would have to help her go and clean some of these houses. And so we would clean houses in Seattle and Mercer Island and Bellevue. And we would do commercial properties. And so that was a lot of work, but it was like, that was what was going to get us out of the hood. And so that's how my mom kept us focused. And that was my solace, was hard work, trying to get out.
Okay. So now I'm a big martial artist guy. And I love, of course, everybody loved Bruce Lee, but one thing I love, that Bruce always talked about, even when with his martial arts, that it's better to not fight than to fight. But if you have to fight, make sure you win. Like for me, I I grew up, when UFC first started, I fought in the ring for a couple of times. But I was never that guy that would walk around with the UFC shirt on and act like a Billy badass, because I know
Right.
that if me and you fight, I'm trying to kill you. I'm not
Right.
trying to play fight. But
Right.
I also believe that, because you see a lot of, like, we're talking now a little bit about the way kids are coming up today.
Yeah.
There's a lot of keyboard warriors out there. And I believe that, you know, if you have a Ferrari, you don't have to do 100 miles an hour, because everybody knows you can do 100 miles an hour. So talk
Right.
to us a little bit about what martial arts actually teach children and how it can actually help them.
Well, martial arts is, I mean, it's dynamic, right? And it teaches different children different things. Most importantly, it's going to teach you a lot about yourself. You're going to learn what you're good at, what you're not good at, and you're going to learn at where you need to improve. And a couple things is that there's always someone better, right? There's always someone that's a better fighter, right? Like it's not all about superior person, but superior position. And so, you always see people get out of position no matter how good they are. And but it teaches children focus, right? Discipline, self-confidence, teach them to be humble. It teaches them to be gentle. It teaches them to be patient, and just how to be an all around and to be nice. Right, that's the thing about martial arts. I mean, it teaches you to be a nice person. Some of your best martial artists are the nicest people. A lot of times when you see those people and they're jerks, I mean, they may be good, right? But it's like they're lacking some of the other things that make them a true, well-rounded martial artist.
All right, so now I want to talk, because like I said, I got an 11-year-old, I got an 18-year-old, and I got a 20-year-old, and I've seen, because I look at all their social media,
Yeah,
because I'm on every platform that they're on, so I know what they're seeing and what. And
right,
I'm not seeing that one word that you said. I'm not seeing a lot of humbleness. For
right.
me, I try to be as humble as I can be, because there's always somebody better that knows something that I don't know. So I realize that the more humble I get, the more God blesses me. But I'm not seeing a lot, because now everybody has filters. Everybody's trying to be their best so they can get more likes. So I'm
Right.
not seeing a whole lot of humbleness out there. What are your thoughts?
I think you're absolutely right. There's not a lot of humbleness out there for every reason that you said, and then also because people have an opportunity to be uh, themselves without some of the flaws they feel like they have. People don't have to be their true self anymore with social media. They can present, a front stage and a backstage, right? So your front stage is who you want people to see, and your backstage is really who you really are. And so, no, you don't see it. And as a result, what's happening is that it's affecting children outside of social media, right? When they come off of social media, they're impacted in all kind of ways that is really hurting them in school and the social settings.
Oh, okay, so let's talk about that, because, and I'm the same goofy guy on camera, off camera. If we get together, you're getting a big hug. I'm the
Yeah,
kind of likes to joke around, have fun, make stupid dad jokes, but I'm the same
yeah,
guy on and off camera. And you see some people, when they're on camera, they're so stoic. And then when they get off camera, they're like, they're totally different. So how
yeah.
does a person, how do you meld the two together so you can become one congruent person on and off social media?
I think it's based on the person and what they want to share with the world is part of it. The I think that in a lot of ways, people are different with different people. So, for example, they may be a certain way in a business setting and another way in the social setting, right? They may not act the same way in a boardroom that they're going to act in a bar, right? But some people do. And I think that with social media, there's so much at risk a lot of times with your behavior when you are either a young adult trying to get a job or trying to make a career for yourself. And 20 years ago, you could say something stupid and nobody would remember it. Now you say something stupid and it's documented. They can pull it up. 10 or 20 years from now, 5 years from now, 2 years from now. So I think that the fact that people are so that you're under the microscope, it makes it difficult for people to be their genuine selves on social media. And then you have some people that don't want to be. But I think that the best way to do it is to just be yourself and just be mindful of what you're saying, and just make sure you say the right stuff, the smart stuff, to keep yourself from getting in trouble.
All right, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into that. But first, I want to thank our sponsors. As you guys know, I was with GNC for over 30 years, the military for 23. I loved pre-workouts. I loved coffee, but they all tasted like crap. So I came out with my own coffee, a vertical momentum coffee. I'm actually drinking it. Yes, I get high on my own supply. Or go to veterans that are struggling with homelessness and PTSD. It's actually all hand roasted. So if you love coffee with a mission, write coffee down below and I'll get you that information. Also, guys, I only use things that I really believe in. And when my friend Mike from Damascus Knives sent me a knife, it's the only knife I will actually use now. If you've ever seen the show Forged in Fire, he was actually a finalist. So if you would actually like a knife that you can use it every single day, and it's actually forged in steel just for you, write knife down below and I'll get you that information. So, Shaun, so let me ask you a question. I'm in my town. I'm in charge of the DARE program. Well, it used to be called DARE when we were kids.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't realize that on average, every day in the United States, 5,000 adolescents attempt suicide every single day. It's not getting better. So you figure if that's 5,000 kids, how many parents are attempting suicide and nobody's even, or actually doing it? So talk to us about what you're seeing in today's youth with mental health and addiction and self-confidence and stuff like that.
So repeat the question for me, please, Richard.
So what are you seeing? Because you talk to a lot of children, you talk to a lot of youth, a lot of adolescents, and now, with social media, the last 10, 15 years, things are not getting better. There's more bullying, there's more depression, there's more anxiety, there's more kids trying to live up to the standard that somebody else that is setting, which is unrealistic. So what are you seeing today?
I'm seeing both sides of it. So I'm seeing the exact same thing with youth and them dealing with the pressures of suicide and depression and dealing with bullying and dealing with the pressures of trying to live up to what they're seeing on TV or social media, and seeing a lot of that, which is overwhelming. I mean, like you said, over 5,000 children each day attempt to commit suicide, which is a staggering number. And I think that people don't pay attention to that. It's like they don't pay attention to it until it hits home, right? Until it's someone that they know, it's their own child, God forbid, or there's something else going on. But those are real numbers. And then also the fact that adults and the numbers have increased. At first we thought it was just COVID, but then you realize that it's something greater, right? That it's the social norms and everything that are changing. So you see a lot of that. At the same time, we see a lot of positivity there. The thing is that it's not getting as much exposure as it needs to get in the youth, where the kids need to see more positivity and then being able to see that they can have that kind of more positive lifestyle or mentality so that they're able to deal with the things going on in the world that are making them want to take themselves out or that are making it to where they're almost unable to function. So we're seeing a lot going on.
Okay, so now, because as adults and I mean, I'm a 54-year-old guy, and I'm just digging into personal development, which I absolutely love. So talk to us about digging, children and
Yeah.
teenagers digging into personal development at a younger age.
Well, it's critical, and it's critical because they're being exposed to things at a younger age, right? So, 20 years ago, there was not any talk of any type of relationship type of things at in elementary school in second and third grade. Well, now you're dealing with all sorts of issues going on. There, you didn't have, elementary school children dealing with thoughts of suicide like you do now. You didn't have uh, the issue of bullying like you did now, right? And maybe you did, but the kids dealt with it differently, right? Like a lot of times we feel like our generation was stronger than a generation ahead of us, and it's just like our parents felt like they were stronger than we are, right? But you didn't have those issues, and so now that children are dealing with suicide at third, fourth grade, that you have 90% of children in minority communities that can't read by the fourth grade on level, right? Those are going to create some developmental issues first educationally, but it's also going to create some confidence issues, right? So now we have to get that uh, self-efficacy piece in there, which is the idea that I can do something. So if you're in third grade, right, if you're in fifth grade, or let's say sixth grade, and you're reading on a first grade level, you have to believe that you can actually get yourself up to reading at a sixth grade level. But if you don't even have the mentality that you can do it, you don't have the resiliency, right, that you can bounce back from the fact that you can't read where you should, you're not even going to try. So then you don't try, then what happens? You go out, you want to start robbing people, or you start abusing your body with drugs, or you start selling your body, or you start doing stupid stuff to mess yourself up. And so we can get these youth, right, and it's affecting children on all social economic levels, right? It's not just children of color, it's children of all colors. And we can get them at a younger level, especially in this country, to start believing in themselves, then there's going to be hope for our country in the future, because we're leaving it to them. And we want to be able to have a country for our children that they could be able to run and be competitive with the rest of the world.
Okay, so then let's talk about it, because I grew up. My father left when I was 3 months old. I never had a father figure. So pretty much I grew up on my own, on the streets or whatever.
Yes,
But
sir.
there was a young lady. She's passed now. She pretty much adopted me, and she taught me how to read. And she taught me how to, if I read a book, it can take me to some other place. And
Yeah.
so that's where I got my love of reading. And I try to instill that in my kids, the reading, but they're not big readers. Neither is I'm the only reader really in the house. But I believe, but I still make my daughter read a half hour every day from school, because
Mhm.
I'm still like, all right, I, teachers are teachers, but I still have a responsibility
Right.
at home as the leader, as a husband, as a father. I still have the responsibility of, because like I'm a big believer, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. And
Absolutely.
it says if you raise up a child, that he'll never leave.
Say it again.
You know, so I try to be, decide to say, listen, yeah, being on YouTube is great and all that stuff, but you still got to be able to read. So talk to us about parents taking that responsibility, not just leaving it on the teacher's shoulders. Because once the kids get out of school, what do you do when they're home? Then you just let them sit on YouTube for the next 10 hours before bed?
Right. Man, you're absolutely right. The responsibility starts with the parent, right? And you don't have a great country unless you have a great community, which is where your teachers are. And you're not going to have a great community unless you have great parents. And you're not going to be able to have, right, or you're not going to be able to have a great family unless you have great parents. And it's hard for a kid to be a great kid if they don't have that. But the parents have to work on themselves and then be able to also work on their kids. So personal development is something where, number one, you teach by doing. number one, first and foremost. If I want my children to read, then I got to read. I don't care if you're reading a magazine, you're reading the comic strip, you're reading, something on your tablet, you're reading, they're going to read. So first is leading by example. The teachers are overwhelmed, Richard, at school. Like they are completely overwhelmed because not only are they having to educate somebody's snot-nosed kid that doesn't want to listen, right? The child is behind in school. They're being pressed to test them over and over again. There's pressure coming from up top. But then you also got to make sure the kid has deodorant on. And there's young ladies that don't come with the things they need for their cycle. And the kid came to school and they smelled like marijuana because their parents were smoking in the car and then getting them out of there. You got the other kid that came and the kid didn't eat this morning. So now we got to get the kid food to eat. Then we got to get them to get off their contact high. Then we got to get this same child to try to read, which probably needs to be in remedial classes, but we can't get the parents to answer the phone to be able to get them in the remedial classes or get the parents to come to a teacher-parent conference, right? So all that's going on and all that pressure is put on the teachers, and the parents say, well, how come my kid can't read? You're not doing your job. And the teachers are like, what the hell? I'm not even getting paid enough money to keep my own lights on, and I'm trying to do that and take care of your child, and you're not parenting, right? So one of the biggest things that parents can do is to just as much as they can to be a parent. And there's no guidebook to being a parent, but one of the most important things that any parent can do is to be loving, to try to give your child positive life experiences. And that right there gets that child ahead way further, right, than a child that is dealing with the opposite. The other one has a lot more to deal with.
Okay, well, like something that we were talking about before we came on camera, you got a brand new puppy, and I love that. But like the famous poet DMX once said, "Don't have a dog. Don't have a dog if you can't take care of a dog." And I believe that a lot of parents have children, and they're children having children, and they really don't know where to go. For me, me growing. When I became a father, I started reading everything I could. I picked up books by T.D. Jakes, Joel Osteen, any book I could find on being a father. Because, like you said, there is no, how to. It's like, you got to figure it out. But if you're on kid 4 and 5 and you haven't figured it out yet, there's an issue.
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. There is an issue. And one of the biggest issues that we have is the fact that here, I'm gonna introduce you to Cash. Come here, Cash. Yeah. There's Cash. Can you see him, Richard?
Yeah.
There he is. Cash, you want to say what's up? There you go. There's Cash. Man, let me tell you, one of the big that no one really knows how to raise a kid. None of us know till you get to that second phase. We're all trying to figure out, how do we raise these doggone kids?
Somehow we got there. There we go.
Yeah, here I am. Yeah, but it's being willing to fight. None of us know how to do it, but it's being willing to fight. It's being willing to take those chances. And whether or not, you have a lot of kids having kids. You have a lot of people that don't want to have kids, but once the kid is there, you owe it that responsibility so that you're not, in a situation where the kid is having to fend for themselves, which was one of the things I had to do growing up.
Okay, so when you say you can have it all,
yes, sir.
What do you mean by that?
I believe that success is relative. I truly believe that. I truly believe success is relative, and I believe that you can have the kind of life that you dream about. I don't believe that the only limits that we have are the limits that we put on ourselves. We're dealt a bad hand sometimes, but it doesn't mean that hand will stop us from being what it is that we want to be in life. It doesn't mean that we don't have the ability to be able to bounce back from those situations. I believe that we can.
But I think we need to show people that have lost it all, got it all back. I think we need to highlight the failures of some people, because on
Sure.
social media, all you see is the wins.
Right.
Like my friend David Meltzer, they actually wrote the movie Jerry Maguire about him.
Oh
He
wow.
lost $100 million, and now he's got a $20 billion company. But for me,
Wow.
I'm more interested in the losses and how you
Right.
overcame the losses to be successful. Because if
Right.
all you're showing is success, you're not showing the real.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
You're not. No, you're not. You're not showing the real story at all. I mean, and I think that that's part of the issue with a lot of things we see now is that it's not showing the real. It's showing just this idea that no one else has any struggles, or that someone's business or concept was built overnight, right? And that's total BS. Would be able to be successful, or at least be able to fight more if they could see the struggles that people dealt with, or at least be able to hear about it.
All right. So now, we talked about how Alabama, Crimson Tide,
Yeah. Yes,
uh,
sir.
everybody talks about how great of a coach Nick Saban is,
Oh, you
but they
talking
don't
about the
talk
goat,
about the struggle. But they don't talk about the struggle he had when he went in the NFL, when he went to Miami.
right? And lost.
And then, he had to come back and reestablish himself. He didn't
Yeah,
just quit like Steve Spurrier when he went to the NFL from Florida, and
yeah,
never recovered. He never did
right.
great after
Never.
his failing in the
Nah,
NFL.
he didn't.
So,
Nah.
so talk to us about not giving up after having a failure.
Uh, well, you know, sometimes it's hard, right? Sometimes it's very difficult, and we fail our way to success, right? So we're having failures and failures and failures over and over and over again, and somehow that's leading us to success because we're learning about the mistakes we made. We're learning about what worked and what didn't work, and that's pretty much how life is. I mean, if you haven't failed yet, you will. If you say you've never had a failure, then you're a liar, or you don't know what it is. And sometimes we say, well, I haven't failed. I've just had learning experiences or whatever. Call it what you want, right? You're not going to get it right 100% of the time. And because if you did, you haven't learned anything, right? Some of the biggest successes that I've experienced in my life have come from, from failures, from hitting the wall, hitting the wall hard, and just being able to say, okay, now how the hell do I get myself back up from this? How do I piece myself together, patch up the wounds, and keep going? When I started working and doing the camp, I mean, I lost all my money, right? I was completely broke. I was getting ready to get evicted from my apartment. I went to the landlord and said, hey, look, man, I know how to paint. And this apartment you got us in needs a lot of paint. And I said, look, if you will let me paint to pay off the rent that I owe you, man, I'll come here and paint your apartment buildings, paint the units. It was 6 units with those old school rails on the balconies, and I had to paint all that crap, right, while I'm going and building a summer camp that I had no idea how to do. I'm doing that like 15 hours in a day, coming back in the South. It gets, you have it's daylight for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours between, 7:30 and 9 o'clock. And I would paint the rest of the day, go to bed and do it again. Right. I mean, it's just all kind of failures. But from that gave me tenacity, right? I got some grit, right? It made me hungry. It made me more determined. And that's what kept me pressing. So I think people definitely need to hear those stories.
And again, I'm a big sports geek. I've always been a sports geek. And I have the Mamba mentality. I don't
Kobe.
quit. And
Yeah.
a lot of people don't realize that when Kobe tore his Achilles, he shot 2, 3 free throws with the
Yep.
torn Achilles. And on
Yep.
his last game as an NBA player, he dropped 61
Yes, sir.
on his last game because he had the
Yeah.
Mamba mentality. But his
Yeah.
daddy, Jellybean, taught him the mentality that it takes to win. Because even Kobe says, I'm going to stay in my lane, but I'm going to dominate my lane.
Yes,
So
sir.
talk to us about having that kind of mentality that never quit. I'm going to stay in my lane, but I'm going to dominate this lane.
That mentality comes from, first, to me, making a decision. It's like, what is it that I want to be great at doing? What am I gonna do? And then I'm not gonna let anything get in my way, and I'm not gonna let anything stop me. Not, and most importantly, I'm not gonna let myself stop me. And there's an African proverb that if there's no enemy on the inside, the enemy outside can do you no harm. And once you tame yourself, you make yourself get in line, and you say, "Look, I know it hurts right now. I know you're in pain. I know you're struggling. I know this is hard, but doggone it, you get yourself in gear, you get your butt in gear, and let's get out here and make it happen." You do that. And I think the other thing that you do, just what I've done in my life, is you find something worth fighting for that's greater than yourself. Right. For most of us men, I mean, we don't need much to be happy. Right. I mean, our needs are very, very short. There's a short list of things that we need. And, mostly it's, food, sex, and, maybe one or two other things. Right. But when you know that you have children in there and that your children need you and they're relying on you, I mean, I can't tell you how many days I've wanted to give up doing what I do. And I think of the picture of my boys. And it's like, man, well, if I quit, then what example am I going to leave them? What's going to be left for them? You know what I mean, man? If I sit here and I say, man, I'm going to give up on all my dreams, or I'm going to, just say, screw it all, what does that say to my boys? What kind of men are they going to be? How are they going to be when they grow up? And so that is that mentality. And when we're talking about in a competitive world or in a business world, it's the same mentality. If you're like, hey, I'm going on the court, I'm going to kill, right? I'm going to win. That's what I'm going to do. Then you do that, and you go after that. And the way to do that is to have a dream, have a vision, have a focus of what you want to do. You see it far off, and you don't let anything get in your way, and you make it happen.
All right, so let's talk about, because in the last couple of years, a lot of business owners that people watching this are actually business owners, and
Okay.
in the last couple of years, we've had to pivot, and
Yes.
a lot of people don't remember the Michael Jordan of the Washington Wizards, where he couldn't dunk anymore,
Yeah.
but his 3-point shot and his mid-range jumper was on fire. He had
On
to pivot
fire.
because I can't dunk like I used to, so I got to
Yeah.
find a different way to score. So talk
Yeah.
to us about how you go about pivoting when life slaps you in your mouth.
Well, the first thing you got to do when you go to pivot, if you got knocked on your back, is to get up. That's the first thing that you do. And then once you get up and the stars are gone, then you figure out, okay, well, what the hell just happened? Then it's like, okay, then you start to look at, all right, what is the need now, right, as a business person? Because the need 5 years ago, 10 years ago is not the need now. What do my clients need now? What does what does my industry need now? What's the problem? And I think that you can always have success in an area if you always ask this question from a very strategic standpoint, which is, what's the problem now? Right? What's the problem now? Right? What's wrong? Right? It's like when we have kids as dads, it's like, okay, they start crying. The first thing we want to know is what's wrong? Okay, are you wet? Did you poop? Okay, I need to change your diaper. All right, are you hungry? All right, I need to feed you. All right, do you have a fever? Oh, okay, you're sick. I need to take you to the doctor, give you some medicine. So it's the same thing when we pivot in business. It's okay. Now, what's the problem? What's the problem now? Right? The industry has changed. Okay, well, they no longer need this, but they need. Okay, what do they need now? What's the problem? You seek out the problem. You hunt that thing out like a hound dog, man. And when you find the problem, then the question is, how do I create a solution to that problem? And that's all business is. It's finding a problem and filling it, right? For example, the coffee and stuff you tasted before sucked. It didn't have as much caffeine. So what you do? You solve the problem. You're like, man, I'm about to make some good shit. Excuse my language. I'm about to make something good. And not only is it going to be a good product, but then the proceeds are going to go back to a great cause. You saw a problem, you filled it. It's the same thing with any business. You find the problem, you feel it, and that's how you pivot. When anytime you stop finding the problem, all of a sudden your business is going to start lacking, and you're not going to pivot, and then it's adapt or perish. So if you don't change, you're going to perish.
Well, and that's, when I talk to a business, because I'm a business coach, and I tell them, you have to start doing short form videos. You have to get on TikTok. You got to do Instagram Reels. You got to do YouTube Shorts. And then they tell me, well, and I tell them, well, you have to adapt and change. They said, well, this is the way we always done it. That's when I know you're going out of business. There's a reason why Radio Shack isn't here. Blockbuster, Sears, none of them companies are here because they figured we're going to do it the way we used to do it. So talk to us, because I know especially you deal with a lot of kids, and they're on YouTube, Instagram, Reels, and now it seems like Kentucky Fried Chicken and Kia are spending 50% of their budgets on TikTok. So it's not for kids anymore, but a lot of businesses will be like, well, I don't shake my ass and I'm not 15 years old. Well, guess what? That's where the eyes are at. Like Gary Vaynerchuk always says, you go where the attention is. So talk about that, going where the attention is.
Well, it's the same thing like we just said. I mean, it's adapt or perish, right? So at the end of the day, as a business owner, right, we want to make money, right? We want to be able to make money for ourselves, be able to have a good life, and be able to make a difference, right? Be able to provide a good product. And so, I don't, especially with our generation of business owners, it's anything that's new and different a lot of times is scary, right? We don't understand it. We don't like it. It makes us uncomfortable. The way we've always done it is comfortable. And so the biggest concern, the biggest issue is that now people have to get more uncomfortable to be able to make money. And it's happening faster and faster at a faster clip. And there's still some very basic principles that are still there that will stand the test of time, right? Like a good product, right? Having a business of integrity, right? All those things are not going to change. The principles will stay the same. But when you start talking about making a change, at the end of the day, man, let's give the people what they want. If you're going to be able to make money and stay out here. And, if not, then you're going to struggle. You're just going to die. You're going to bleed out. And that's what's happening to a lot of businesses right now, is they're just going to bleed out. I mean, I deal with youth. So we're constantly having to deal with changing aspects or, marketing on social media or all the things that are happening. What we do is we just make it fun, right? The things that you don't want to do, you make it fun to yourself, or you laugh at yourself through the process. Yeah, it sucks, but I'm about to get through this. I'm about to get through this shit because I got to go over here. I got to get this check, and I got to make sure I make this money to be able to take care of my family or to go on vacation or go do whatever it is that I want to do. So you do what you got to do. And as men, especially men with families, you do what the heck you got to do to be able to make it happen.
All right. So then I got a question, because, like I said, I was raised on the street. I was actually raised by a Southern Black family. And and of course, the mama was the matriarch. And so she ruled the roost. But, and he taught me how to become a man. And so I don't ever see color anymore. I'm just, people are people. But I see it, from my friend Trent Shelton. He just put a post out, I think yesterday or the day before. He's like, a lot of kids come up and don't ask him and say, well, how are you making it? You're not supposed to make it because of the color of your skin. And so, but he says a lot of kids now have more excuses than ever before. They just use it as, a color thing. Or like my son is 20 years old. He has autism. So sometimes he'll play that autism card. And I'll be like, bro, if you look at Elon Musk, come on, you got to have autism.
Yeah.
So, don't even play that card with me. So talk to us about, some of the kids that try to play those cards, and you as a brother, you got to be like, come on, bro. Don't BS me. If I can make it, you can make it.
You can make it, man. Let me tell you, the thing now is that there's so much access to things, right? Everything is available that a lot of times the kids don't want to have to work anymore. They don't want to have to try, right? I mean, okay, If you don't know a question, you no longer have to go into the encyclopedia or ask someone. You can just ask Google. Not only can you just ask, it used to be okay, you ask Google, but you had to wait till you got home. Well, now you're 9 years old and you have a cell phone. You can just ask in the phone. Well, you used to have to type the question in. Now you don't have to do it. You can just speak. It used to be a situation where if you didn't know how to write a paper, right, or do something like that, you had to figure out how to write it yourself. Well, now you can just go on to AI and tell it what you need, and it's going to write it for you. So it's just so many different things that are available to kids and available to youth, that I think that they have so much that they've taken it for granted that they don't want to do anything at all. And so the excuses are a sign of comfort, right? A lot of times we make excuses for something when we're comfortable. I don't want to go out and work out because it's raining. Well, not you don't want to work out, you don't want to get wet, right? Or I don't want to go and work on this car, right? Because you for whatever reason you're tired, right? So we just start making these excuses. But and the amount of access that we have, particularly in this country, is allowing for the children to become lazy because they don't have to do anything anymore. I mean, you don't even have to go get anything to eat. It comes to your door. You don't have to pick up diapers. It comes to your door. You don't have to do groceries. It comes to your door. So with all of that, it's like, I just don't want to do anything. You there, Richard?
Okay, but now let's take that a little further. I'm a big chat GPT guy. I'm a big
Yeah.
AI guy, but I'm
Yeah.
54 years old. And some
Gotcha.
of the people I talk to, they're like, yeah, it's a passing fad. Maybe I'm not going to use it. And I'm like, bro, if you're not using, like even Gary said it, if you're not using AI in your business, you're going to get run over. So,
Yeah.
talk to us, because even adults are making excuses now. Well, I'm too
Yeah.
old. I don't
Yeah.
know tech. So talk to
Yeah.
us about that.
Well, just like what you said, I mean, if you're not going to use it, you're going to get run over, right? Your competition is using it, right? So let's put it in a military setting, right? Your competition is using a gun, but you're going to keep using a knife. Those odds don't look good. We look at history; those odds didn't look good for any indigenous group of people that only had a spear, right? And other groups of people had guns, right? So if for nothing else, you're gonna use it because your competition is using it, right? And if you're not using it, and the other thing is why wouldn't you if it's gonna make your life easier, right? The idea of, well, I want to continue to be original. The thing about AI is that it can't make you get up and do the damn job. You can have all the knowledge in the world, you still got to go and execute it, right? So you can know how to do anything, how to execute this, how do I build a house? How do I take a proper bath? How do I, build this thing and do X, Y, and Z? You still got to go do it, right? You can know how to be the best doctor, but if you've never actually operated on anybody, it doesn't make a difference of how much you know. So, yes, AI is a friend and a tool, just like everything else is a tool, but it's how you use the tool. But just because I have a hammer doesn't mean shit if I don't hit the nail, right? So at the end of the day, you still have to execute. And so the people that are getting the steps and the knowledge and then they're executing, yes, they're going to run over the people that are either in doubt, the people that are thinking that it's going to take over the world, the people that are like, I'm not going to use it, and the people that think that it's a fad, they're absolutely going to run them over or just surpass them, right? Or get to the goal even faster because they're going to execute the knowledge that they were given. And that's the difference at the end of the day with any kind of specialist or with anybody, right? We can all get knowledge, but the difference are the people that execute the knowledge. There's no secret sauce, right? There's no secret strategy. At the end of the day, it's hard work and effort. It's making it happen. It's putting in the work with the right knowledge. That's how you get to where you want to be.
And and I totally agree. And I just read something the other day that if you do something for 15 minutes a day for 1 year straight, you're going to be better than 95% of the population in the world just by
Wow.
15 minutes a day, because that
Oh,
equals up to
wow.
that. What is that? That one 10,000 hours or whatever. But
Yeah.
they say if you
Yeah.
do that for 15 minutes, one thing for 15 minutes a day, you're going to
Yeah.
be better than 95% of the population of the world. So,
Right.
but a lot of people, they don't want to put in the work. They don't want to
Nope.
put in. They don't want to put in the grind. Just like everybody talks shit about Tom Brady.
Yeah.
But they don't realize that he's getting to work, getting there 2 hours early,
Yeah.
staying 2 hours late. He's not
Yeah.
even eating tomatoes because it causes inflammation in the body. But you don't
Wow.
see that. You
Yeah.
don't hear that. You just hear the 7 Super Bowls. So
Right.
you gotta put in the work. And like I'm a big fan of primetime
Yes,
Deion
sir.
Sanders. And
Yes,
he even
sir.
talks about how Jerry Rice taught him that you play, you dress good, you look good, you play good, you execute good, you get paid good.
Yes,
So,
sir.
so it's the little things I think for greatness, showing up,
Yeah.
showing up, saying you're going to do what you say you're going to do, be on time, put in a little
Yeah.
bit of extra effort. And I think you're going to beat 95% of the people out there in the
Yeah.
world. And that the other 5% is just a dogfight, right?
Right. 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 I mean, I agree 1,000%. And then most importantly, you're going to beat yourself. Right. I mean, at the end of the day, we're competing with our past and our previous self. Right. I mean, yeah, and we're competing against there's other businesses you have to compete against and those things. But if you're constantly getting better, man, you're in a world of your own. Right. I mean, Tom Brady was beating himself. Jordan was beating himself. Right. Kobe Bryant, these guys were competing against themselves. They were pushing themselves, which is why they were in a world of their own. Right. They weren't running a race and looking left or right to the other person. Right. They were, I mean, of course, it was a motivator. Right. But at the end of the day, Jordan is like, okay, I got 5 rings. Let me see if I can get 6. Right. Tom Brady was like, I got 6 rings. Let me see if I can get 7. Kobe was like, I got 4. Let me see if I can get 5. Let me see if I can get 81 points in the game. Or let me see if I can beat Wilt Chamberlain's 100 points in the game. Right. They were pushing themselves. And I think that when you're focused on pushing yourself, then the wins are more satisfying because you can't compete with somebody else, man. You don't know what other advantages they have, right? You don't know what opportunities were given to them, right? You don't know how hard they work. So it's hard to compete with another person, but you can compete with yourself and you can beat yourself.
And and I love that. And like I said, I'm a big sports freak. Even
Yeah.
I love that the series they had about the Chicago Bulls, whatever,
Yeah.
I forget the name of it.
Oh,
But it was a
go ahead.
10-part series.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
even Jordan said, I don't think about my 6 championship rings. I
Mhm.
think about the 900 shots I've missed.
Yeah.
I think about the 300 times I was given the last shot, and I missed.
Yeah.
Brady never talks about his 7 Super Bowls. He talks about being picked as Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Pissed him off. Yeah.
so I think sometimes we have to, like a lot of us will get a win, and then we kind of get lazy. We're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I got to win. But Kobe, even like Michael Jordan, when he won the championship, I think for the 3rd time, or
Yeah.
for the time when his father died, he was thinking, how do I get my next title? The next
Yeah.
day, he was
Yeah.
thinking, how do I win another one? So
Yeah.
I think, because like I have a lot of excellent people on my show, like yourself, and one of my friends,
Sure.
he was a Navy SEAL, and he
Mhm.
said he celebrates for 3 minutes. And
Wow.
any win he has or any failure he has, if he has a failure, he's down for 3 minutes. If he succeeds at something, he's pumped for 3 minutes, and then it's on to the next objective. What do you think
Wow.
about that?
I think that you do what works for you. I think that you do whatever it takes to keep you going to the next thing. So if it's all right, look, 3 minutes and we're out, 3 minutes, we're back on it. Then if that's what works for you, then do it. Some people say, hey, look, man, I need 24 hours. Man, I work real hard. I've been waiting my whole life. Then you do that. I think that you do what's best for you, which is why you should only compete with yourself. I think that when we compete against other people, uh, or even take all of their ideology, then I think that it's an issue. But I think it's a great example, right? Because ultimately what he's saying is I'm not relishing in the fact that I made something happen. I did it and I'm on to the next thing. And it's because he wants to be better, right? Okay, this is good. I did it. Let's go to the next thing. I think it's a great way to have discipline. And I agree with it myself. I mean, anytime I do something that I'm very proud of, a lot of times it's like, okay, I did it. I'm happy about the fact that I did it. All right, cool. Let's, do whatever the goal was, whatever the reward was going to be. We did that. Now let's find something else to crush. And that's what you do.
Okay, so last couple questions now. Like I said, big sports guy. When Peyton Manning came out, he came out with a guy named Ryan Leaf,
Mm-hmm.
and they both had amazing talent. They were both
Yes, they did.
6'5", pretty much about the same, physically, but mentally, Peyton was a different dude. Peyton
Yeah.
would get there early.
Yeah.
He would study. He would know what the defense is doing, the offense is doing, special teams is doing. So I think if you want to succeed now in life, you should find mentors and see what they do and how they became great at what they do and try to learn from them. Not bite off of them, but to learn to see,
Yeah.
well, all right, I don't have to recreate the wheel. It's already been
Right.
created. So let me
Right.
just follow and see what they're doing and then ask for them to mentor me. Like John Lee
Right.
Dumas and Gary Vaynerchuk are my mentors. They mentored me and I mentor
Yes, sir.
others. So talk about mentorship, especially between a mentor and a young man.
Uh, Mentorship to me is critical because that's how you learn how to avoid the mistakes. If you want to get on the fast track to success, you definitely have to have a mentor, and you have to listen, because that mentor, especially one that really cares and pours into you, is going to tell you the pitfalls and what to avoid. And that's really what you're looking for, is to not make the same mistakes that other people have made. And so those mentors can be found in people. They can be found in books. It can be found in any type of relationship information that you can get from people, that are willing to pour into you. But it's absolutely essential, just because you're going to have a hard day. You're going to have things happen and you're not going to have answers to it. And so sometimes, especially if you're, in a situation where you're married, you have a spouse, or you have, people that are counting on you. In the business I was in, they always say, you throw up, you don't throw down, right? You don't fuss and complain or whine to the people that are dependent on you. You got to find that person you can come to that'll listen to your problem, that'll pat you back up and say, hey, you know what? Now get back out there and make it happen. And so mentorship is critical, to any type of success that you want to have.
All right. So you mentioned books. Like I said, I love your book. I'm on my third
Yes, sir.
iteration. Tell us
Yes,
about
sir.
what you got going on now. How do we find you? How do we support your mission?
Well, what I have going on right now is the You Can Have It All Kids magazine. And that's something that's really dear to my heart because it's all about motivating kids to go after their dreams and to be motivated by their youth. It's kind of, the opposite of what we've talked about in the regards of what technology is kind of doing to kids, or what parents are allowing technology to do to kids. Let's put it that way, because technology is just a vehicle that's neither good or bad. It's what we're doing with it. And so the You Can Have It All magazine is content, is positive content, motivating kids, personal development content, but it's fun. There's games in there. We have a comic that's called Team Hot Sauce, that motivates kids. And there's kid writers in the magazine, right? So you're hearing about kids that are 3-time junior Olympians, kids that are running track, kids that are skateboarding in the UK, kids that are doing cool things in Uganda, and it's very interactive. And so our goal is to continue to spread that magazine around the globe. Portion of the proceeds goes towards You Can Have It All Orphanage in Uganda, East Africa, to help children that would otherwise not have access to education and food and water, to be able to get that and have that dream.
So is that in a physical format?
Both. So it's physical and digital.
And,
So in the US, of course, go ahead.
and where do we find it?
You go to ukids.world to get access to the magazine. It's the fastest growing youth magazine of its kind in the world. There's nothing like it. And, it's impacted lives all over. And so we're really excited about it. But the name of the magazine is You Can Have It All. And you go to ukids.world to be able to check it out.
All right, how about your book?
The book. So we have 3 books: Persevere, Overcome, and Win. Raising Extraordinary Kids and Be Unstoppable, Living Life. You can get those books. You can go to You Can Have It. You go to ukids.world for access to those books as well. And Persevere, Overcome, Win are strategies to be able to give your child the edge in life. I don't believe necessarily in telling parents how they should parent their kids, because I believe that parents know their kids better than we do. But I do truly believe that there are strategies that can help a child to perform their best, whether it's in sports, socially, at home. And so that's what I talk about. And just I've been in youth development for over 20 years. And so I'm taking my experiences that I've seen, things that we've done to be able to get kids performing better, and teaching parents and other professionals how to be able to use those same strategies.
I love it. And guys, like I said, I have his book. I'm on my 3rd iteration. I read it the first time, I read it the second time, and now I'm outlining it, underlining it, and coloring it. It's like my Bible. It's all beat up.
Yes, sir.
But they say if your Bible is beat up, your life won't be. So I'm just putting that out.
I like that. Yes, sir.
So guys, so brother, I just want to say thank you so much. I'm very humbled to be able to call you friend, and I just want to say thank you.
Man, Richard, thank you for
having me. So guys, make
sure
you reach out to him. It's my honor and blessing. Make sure you reach out to him. And guys, as my tagline, as you guys know, is I'm a big Joel Osteen guy, and I believe you have the choice to be a victim or the victor.
Absolutely.
You make the choices, guys. So make the choice magazine, and make sure if you have a brother or sister that got kids, make sure you share this episode with them. Brother, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Richard. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, guys, remember, vertical momentum. The only way to go is but up, and I will catch you guys next week.